Okay, I'm going to start recording so I can get started and finished. And I'm doing this from my so-called job site or business site. My name is Jesse. I was doing this video essays on black screen as the camera was facing into the interior of the taxi that I operate, but I realized this probably is, and nowadays people need something visual. In this light, I'm not going to be recorded, but there's enough light on the outside that there'll be some image of the so-called life here in downtown El Paso. And the subject for today is it's going to upset a lot of people, but I'm not interested in who it upsets. I'm more interested in, excuse me, I'm adjusting the camera. I'm more interested in the message, because we live in a point in time, at least as far as what I can observe, where we no longer have any respect for our fellow man. We're under the assumption that we can do anything we want, and it doesn't matter. Case in point is driving behavior. I've noticed a lot of. I mean, I knew it was bad even before that uninsured person totaled my private property. So this is directly related. This video is directed at all the bad people in our society, all the gang members, all the murderers, all the people who drive and harm other people with their bad behavior, all the people who drive drunk, all the rude people on the road who happen to think that they can yell at somebody else. and in including that, it's the people of Mexico, and I'm going to start there. What do you do when you have 150 million people who have just decided that they're not going to follow any kind of rule of man or law of God? We're all sinners. We all need to repent and change our behavior and become humble, meek, respectful, peaceful, pleasant, nice, kind individuals who are focused on trying to be as righteous as God is. We will never be perfect. That's absolute. That's understandable. But we're not even trying to be decent people. We're not even trying to be good people. So what do you do when you have a group of, like the people of Mexico? And I know the people of Mexico. I'm not lying to you. It's a sad reality that behavior is an indicator of morality, and when you enter a country legally, when in your own country you purchase your driver's license, your vehicle registration in the black market, where instead of paying your taxes, your property taxes, your home taxes, you bribe the tax collector, you steal from your neighbor's electricity, your neighbor's water. I have the opportunity of talking to a lot of people here in El Paso, Texas, who come from the Mexican experience. Now, I'm not talking about people who were born in El Paso. El Paso is part of the United States of America. So I'm not talking about people who were born here. I'm talking about people who were born in Mexico and who know what I know. I know the kind of lives they live. I know the kind of behaviors they practice. I'm not, obsessed or wanting to create false facts, make things look like they're not. It is part of reality that the people of Mexico are always working outside the law. They have convinced themselves that that everybody's corrupt, and because everybody's corrupt, that means they can do what they want to do. And when you're living that kind of a personal experience, you're not respectful to anybody. You're not respectful to God, and you're not respectful to man. And what do? How do you confront a person who is a gang member, who rapes and murders at will? How do you confront just regular bad people? people who drive without insurance, and people who, you try to do something, it's like the devil himself is trying to stop you. I have no one. This doesn't happen. Taxi drivers parking next to each other and having conversations rarely happen. But I'm going to try to continue, because one thing I learned is if I have to chop this up into different videos and then use Windows Movie Maker to put it back together, it takes like 5 hours, and the video doesn't get out on a daily basis. So what do you do? How do you talk to people who are bad employees, who spend their time giving dirty looks to people? I went to do my regular grocery shopping at Walmart, and the cashier there was so obviously into the Mexican experience, the proud Mexican experience, and she thought she was getting paid to give me dirty looks and and to let me know that she didn't much care for me. And this is an employee of a company. If you're an employee of a company, you should want to generate business. You should want customers to come to your business. You shouldn't be giving them dirty looks and thinking that you can make them feel uncomfortable. I'd have to be as immature as she is to have it offend me, and it doesn't. I'm so used to, in El Paso, Texas, I'm so used to people thinking that I'm white and giving me their attitude. It doesn't bother me. I have enough of a good self-concept, good self-esteem, and that I don't really I'm really going to get sad or angry at the way that people look at me. One thing I will do is I'll just stop going there, conducting business there. If that's their attitude, why should I buy anything from the business where they work at? But it's not easy. If you're a bad person and somebody comes to you and tells you, you know what, you are a bad person, most people are going to take that, as an offense, as an insult. And when you're looking at Mexico, everything that is wrong with Mexico, you're going to have to confront the reality that you're going to have to convince the people of Mexico that they're outside the law of God and they're outside the law of man. And that's not going to be easy. That's going to be hard. One, they're going to become indignant. That's one of the strangest behaviors. I can understand why. It's a part of human nature to become prideful when somebody is criticizing you. But I see it a lot, because like I was saying, I talk to a lot of people, and when they're trying to tell me that the government or Trump is unjust or unfair, and government is always, yes, government is always harming us. That's what I was going to say. So people are always saying government is always harming us and taking advantage of us. Yes, that's absolutely correct. Government takes advantage of everybody. That's not an excuse to come into a country illegally and then try to see how you can hustle your way into government services as fast as you possibly can. I think most of us now know that Social Security is a lie. That relying on Social Security is just stupid. I think most of us know that. But there's people who it's a lot easier to be on government assistance than to actually have to go out and get a job, and to have to go to that job, and to have to go and interact with people at that job. So I can tell you because I live in a city, a border city, where the majority of the population are people from the Mexican experience, not the American Hispanic experience, but the Mexican experience. And what I see is a lot of, one of the things that concerns me is I'm starting to see the driving behaviors here in El Paso, Texas, that I see when I go into Mexico, and I rarely go. I don't go there anymore. But in Juarez, which is the Mexican city that borders El Paso, Texas, the red light doesn't mean anything. The stop sign doesn't mean anything. uh, 80 people out of 100 run right through the red light, run right through the stop sign, speed. And I'm starting to see that in El Paso, Texas. People just going straight through the red light. The person who wrecked my taxi went straight through the red light. Had no appreciation for the fact that traffic may be crossing and he was going to cause an accident. Had no appreciation for the fact that he should be responsible and carry insurance. And let me stop here and say that I still have hope. Donald Trump getting elected, it's a reason to believe that the powerful are not always in charge, that the powerful can be challenged. The people of America have not given themselves completely over to negativity, even though negativity is alive and well in the United States of America. America is not, without serious amount of negativity. The ugliness in humanity, the evil that is infecting humanity across the world is definitely alive and well in the people of the United States of America, which is, it's exhibited in more than just driving behavior. There is in the human race a serious amount of animosity between people who don't know each other, who don't even know each other's politics, but assume that because a person is of this race, that person must be, must be of a particular politics, and because of that, they deserve to get attacked. And I'm going to say that normal, average people do not go out and pick fights with people who are of a different political philosophy. It is a particular type of people, and that's who this is directed to: the horrible people in our society, the what I would call garbage humans. God calls them the filth of humanity. Imagine that. The person who created you calls you the filth of humanity. And you are just despicable, horrible human beings. You have no respect. You have no respect for yourself. You have no respect for your family, and you have no respect for your neighbors. You hurt people on a regular basis, and you'll never change. As far as you're concerned, you're justified in your anger, in your violence, in your aggression. You're justified in your murder, in your rape. You're justified in your crazy driving, in your driving while intoxicated, killing people. You should be ashamed of yourself, but you're not. And you think you're getting away with something. The drug dealers in Juarez think they're getting away with something. They've even gotten so insane that they have created saints. The kind of saints that you see in the Catholic Church. Now they have their own drug dealer saint and murdering, killing saint. They call it the Saint of Death, el Santo de la Muerte. And the drug dealers are supposedly, into worshiping this Saint of Death, but the regular people in Mexico also have this statue in their home that they pray to and that they put money. That's their bank account now. It's a hollow statue, and that's where they put their money in. And they give service and praise and worship to this statue that represents the Saint of Death, which is the saint of the drug dealer, the Mexican drug dealer. And no one, not even myself, gets away with anything. We're all under the watchful eye of God. God knows everything that we're doing. He sees it all. And if you think you're getting away with something because the police haven't stopped you and they haven't put you in prison, or if you want to victimize somebody and a person decides to fight you, you can win the fight, you can kill them because there's nothing stopping you from taking a human. You think you're getting away with something, you're not. if you fear jail, understand that what's going to happen to you after you leave this planet, when you die, is a million times worse than prison. You know, maybe you come from an upbringing of bad parenting, or parents who abused you in the worst manner possible. That's a possibility. But you think that was hard. Just wait till you get to hell. You're going to wish you had never harmed one single person. You're going to wish you had turned your heart to God. You're going to wish you had concentrated on being a meek, humble person. You're going to wish you were a good, decent person, a pleasant person, a nice person, a polite person, a respectful person. You're going to wish that you were someone who saw humanity as created in the image of God and deserved to be loved as God loves people. You know, my responsibility is to take care of my life and to worry about me and not criticize my neighbor. And I wish all people, if everyone in the planet lived according to that, you know, to live according to God's will. And that's what the people of Mexico and every gang member, every drug dealer, every rapist, every murderer, you know, every person who harms a child needs to do. They need to get over their insanity. They need to get over the forces that drive them to victimize people, and they need to get right with God. If you were going to have a conversation with the people of Mexico, you're going to have to tell them, listen, what's going on in your life is the direct result of your sin, is a direct result of your disobedience of God. I'm reviewing the book of Isaiah, and it starts out with God chastising the children of Israel again. You know, if you read the Old Testament is nothing but the majority of the Old Testament is nothing but God chastising the children of Israel. There's one book that constantly says, and the children of Israel did evil unto the Lord. I mean, I'm paraphrasing, but over and over and over. And you would think, that if God frees you from the Egyptians, has you 40 years in the desert, and I'm not going to stop talking just because I'm coughing. You would think that if you go through that experience and you have a day-to-day, connection to God, God is showing you Himself on a daily basis, you would think that you would be everything that God is asking you to be. But we are human beings, and we do have we have a serious problem in obeying God and obeying the laws of man. And one of the things is, and it has to be spoken about, is that it is a commandment to obey the laws of man. The only law of man we don't have to obey is one that is against God. If there's a law that says you cannot read, that it's illegal to read your Bible, you don't have to obey that law. If there's a law that says that you have to worship the statue of Satan, you don't have to obey that law. And this is also inclusive, those who practice Islam are murdering thugs. And how will they come to the conclusion that all of us have come to? You're not... This is the way I see it. Just in a simple, rational manner, If my guy came to me and said, I'm unhappy with all sin in the world, and I want you to get a rifle and slaughter people and help me purge the planet from its iniquity, I would have to say, God, I'm just not going to participate. In fact, if you read If you read the Bible, there were instances where God sent the children of Israel to their neighbors to slaughter them completely, a man, woman, and child, because of their because of their overwhelming iniquity. That's in the Old Testament. So God will use humans to get rid of people who are seriously dangerous to the human race. So when we are, contemplating and meditating the things of life and how God acts and what God does, I can still say, even knowing that those facts about the Old Testament, I can still say that those who study, those who follow the Quran, who call themselves, practitioners of Islam, are wrong. They should tell their God, hey, you want to stop these people's sin? You kill them. If your God is so powerful, why does he need you as a human being to go kill someone else so they will no longer sin and no longer be a threat to the human race? Not only that, there's a special relationship between God and the children of Israel. If you watch documentaries, if you read, if you pay attention, you realize that the history of the Jewish people that is represented in the Old Testament is disregarded by quote-unquote scientists. It's disregarded by anthropologists. It's disregarded by archaeologists, if that's the word. It's disregarded by scientists who work in archaeology. And not all of them. There are some people who respect the history of the children of Israel as it is described in the Old Testament and in the New Testament. And that's because they actually have seen archaeological evidence of the stories of the Bible, which is it's a history book. It's a history textbook. And because they have seen it, they understand that's what's represented in the Old Testament and New Testament is correct. And what you see in modern science that disregards the story of the children of Israel is that other societies are given credit because they find their whatever pots or cities or text as the cuneiform. They find the carvings on walls and carvings on stone that tell the story of these people. And they happen to believe that what the children of Israel did is they incorporated other people's stories, and that's what you get in the Bible. That's a way to discredit the Bible. But that's only because modern scientists, the majority of modern scientists, the ones that get attention, the ones whose books sell a lot, disregard the history of the children of Israel. And the point being in morality is that the God of the Israelites is the one true God. Allah is not the one true God. You'll hear this a lot in the modern world. If you tell some rude individual who's a product of the modern world and just doesn't believe in spirituality, faith, the one true God, they'll usually try, when they're trying to be insulting, they'll accuse you of playing with your imaginary friend, who to them is God or Jesus Christ. In reality, Allah is the imaginary friend of those who follow the Quran or the religion of Islam. When God asked the Israelites to do something, it was to save the children of Israel, because He has a personal sentiment, a special sentiment for the children of Israel that is not represented towards any other group of human beings. And the reason being, it wasn't an accident, is that these group of people were the ones that always, for the majority of the time, kept their heart open to God. We have, we have, and again, taxi drivers making fools of themselves, talking to each other. It doesn't happen. When you try to do something, seriously, every video that I try to do is like somebody, either Satan or God, is trying to stop me from doing it. But I'm going to forge too. And over 800 posted articles, I mean, what is it that they need to stop me from doing? I've already done it. It's already on the internet. People can read them. People can watch the videos. And like I say, this, of course, is going to fall as a movie. But, this isn't for me. I've reached the top of the mountain as far as understanding what is the correct attitude that we should have. How is it that we should be behaving? Should we be angry? Should we have animosity? Should we hate? Should we spend our time sneering at our neighbor? And the answer to all those questions is no. And that's what's needed. Just to get into the political spectrum, Hillary Clinton lost fair and square. They did everything possible to hand her the presidency in the most corrupt manner possible. She lost. And now you have a bunch of people who are upset and are becoming violent because they don't want to accept the reality. That's our society. That's what we have become as human beings. We have become people who sneer at customers. We have become people who get angry. We don't even know why we're getting angry at our neighbor, but we're angry at our neighbor. And that is the powers and principalities, forces that are not seen, that are moving people towards aggression. And the end result is a lot of dead people. It's going to be a massacre if people continue to listen to what I call the seductive whispers of Satan and its angels. The end result is civil war, and in civil war there's a lot of death, carnage, and destruction. And I see it as a moral obligation to tell people to be men of peace and to be women of peace. It'd be great if they didn't sin. It'd be great if I didn't sin. But it's absolutely necessary to have peaceful societies. We have to have peaceful people. And no one has the right to take my private property from me. I mean, it seems that the liberals are obsessed with the idea that those of us who work and have something, have earned something, are somehow morally obligated to give it away to those who have not. I have no problem helping people. I have a big problem helping lazy, irresponsible people. I'm not going to be a facilitator for people whose great life plan is to be lazy and to wait for a government check, or whose great life plan is to violate the borders of a country, sneak in illegally, and then get themselves to government services as fast as possible. People talk about the hard-working Mexican. Again, those people who have to work hard is because they could not find a way to hustle the system. I see this every day. It is tragic. I'm not against anybody. I see a lot of examples of people who came to this country illegally from Mexico, came into the United States, who now don't have proper work authority and don't have any education, don't literally have no employable skills, you know, and they have lived a life attempting to find a way, you know, to fit into American society, and because of their personal experience, American society has just not given them an opportunity. I see them every day just wandering here. They come out from whatever apartment or, you know, whatever family member feels sorry for them and lets them live with them. And most of them are men in their 40s and their 50s. And you can see that they're completely overwhelmed. They're completely, you know, depressed. That they have no place to go and earn money so they can purchase what they want from life. And the problem, you know, and I'm not going to feel sad for them. There's a country that they do have work authority, that they can get papers to work, and that's the country they came from. If we follow the political lies, if we fall for what they are telling us, we only have ourselves to blame. You know, these people who are in the supposed to be in the shadows did it to themselves. Nobody told them to come to the United States of America. You know, they could have had a life in Mexico. They could be working. They could have struggled to achieve some kind of work experience or education in Mexico, and they could have a life in Mexico. They chose to follow the lies of people who told them go to America and everything will be great. And because they chose to do that, they have to suffer the consequences. That's the reality of life. But how are you going to tell people who have convinced themselves that that they have the right to violate the law? How do you tell the modern person that they need to get close to God, that they need to try to be godly, you try to be good, try to be decent, try to be kind? The people who are coming into this country from Mexico, the people who belong to gangs, the people who commit crimes, the people who drive drunk, have very poor morality, and they need to change. They need to change to try to have good morality. Perfect morality, no, because nobody's perfect. Who can claim to be perfect? No one. But that doesn't mean that you steal your lawnmower from your neighbor. That doesn't mean that you're traveling illegally on American roads and you see a home and you decide to break in and steal all their electronic equipment. You know, we can all have debates about materialism or whatever, but the person who worked for the money that purchased the product is the rightful owner of that property. No one has the right to steal anything from anybody, and it gets to me. You know, it's the arrogance. That's what I see a lot from the people of Mexico. Arrogance, and I call it indignant arrogance. They know they're wrong. They know they're outside God's law. They know they're outside man's law, and they could care less. They laugh. They have a vulgar laughter when they talk about how they victimize people. They know they're victimizing people by taking jobs they have no legal authority to take. They know they're victimizing people when they're hustling the welfare system. You know, I have spent a lot of time as I talk to people trying to get them to understand that it's not the government's money, it is the taxpayers' money. It is the nurse, the police officer, the taxi driver, the security guard who are working in the United States of America legally. You know, here, where I conduct business, at about 1 in the morning, maybe 2 or 3, you'll see a line of security guards walking from their post that they're supposed to have at an American port of entry. They work for the federal government through a contract with a private guard service. You'll see them walking toward the little guy who sells burritos illegally, has no permit, has no business permit, has no health permit, just shows up in his van and starts selling burritos, and yes, there is no law enforcement. You can come down here and steal anything you want to the El Paso Police Department. Maybe 2% of the time they pass through here. Nobody. Outside of the private citizen making a 911 call when something happens, there is no law enforcement presence in this area. But when it comes to issues of morality and ethics, those security guards, by law, by Texas law, cannot leave their job site. By Texas law, they can leave their job site to travel to go back home, or they can be from home on their way to their job site. That's it. When you are working, you're supposed to stay on the site that you get paid to protect. You cannot drive away at your lunchtime to go to McDonald's. Texas law only allows security guards who have a weapon, who are working with a handgun, to travel to their place of employment and to travel to their homes from their place of employment. That's breaking the law. That's a morality issue. It's an ethics issue. And they know that it's a crime because they have to go through the 40 hours of instruction to get their certificate. You know, I was telling somebody that I was talking to yesterday that in El Paso, Texas, you can be a person who leaves the prison system on Monday, and on that same Monday have a job as an armed security guard if you have a friend or family member who owns a guard company. The guard company puts no paperwork through. You're supposed to put paperwork through to the state of Texas. They don't. They just pay them, you know, and and the person who purchased the services, they don't know. They don't know if the person who's on their property has the proper legal authority to work as an armed security guard or not. And these are issues of morality, they're issues of ethics. We have lost our way. You know, John the Baptist in the Bible, you know, saying, "Repent, all you sinners, for the kingdom of God is at hand." Sometimes you feel like that, but to me, the issue is the security and stability of society. And when you have, we're always going to have bad people, but it is a question of balance. You need more good people than bad people. And right now it appears that the balance has changed from an 80%, a society of 80% of so decent people. Because without God, you really cannot be a godly person. But at least they're not harming other people, and they're being responsible. They're not driving while intoxicated. They got insurance. They're paying their mortgage. They're not stealing from their neighbors. You know, they're not causing their neighbors hardship. They're not victimizing their neighbors. They're not murdering their neighbors. They're not raping their neighbors. And society needs that kind of a balance. Right now, we don't have that balance. We have people who are you know, set for civil war, are set to tee off on each other, and that's eventually going to lead to serious problems. And I don't see the change. I honestly don't see people looking inward and seeing that they are the problem, that they are bad people, that they are people who God calls the filth of humanity, sinners, you know, disobedient people, people who harm other people. That's even the worst part. One thing is to be a sinner, to be disobedient, to be disrespectful to God, and another thing is to victimize other people. And all of you horrible, I mean, I have no kind words to say for you. It's just that when I'm in the presence of God, I don't, you know, I don't, what shall I say? I'm not that human. I'm not that carnal. You know, I could start cursing and swearing. I confront it every day. I get the looks from the people on the streets every day that there's something special because they're Mexican, and they think I'm the worst human being that was ever born because they think I'm white. They don't know I was born in Mexico. They don't know I was born in Mexico to 100% people who are 100% Mexican. And I'm glad that and I got finished up because the customer is going to come, and I just don't want to do patchwork when I get home with video editors. But I'm glad that we left Mexico when I was a young person, and I'm glad that I guess I'm glad that my family was dysfunctional to the extent that I couldn't be brainwashed into believing the Mexican experience. Because believing the Mexican experience is believing lawlessness, doing everything wrong and harming as many people as you possibly can, and that's just the wrong way to live. We have no right to harm anybody else. And you're horrible people, murderers, rapists, people who drive while intoxicated, the people of Mexico who have such a horrible attitude, just the darkest energy that you will find. All of you who practice Islam and who happen to believe that you need to cut people's heads off, you're evil. You're a cancer on humanity. You're savages. You're animals. I have no kind words to say to you. The American people believe in the Second Amendment, and a lot of them are armed, and maybe we can keep American society from becoming, what a lot of European nations have become, what a lot of African continent nations have become, even Latin American nations have become. People in politics who care more about helping their friends get government contracts and harm the taxpayer by raising taxes and subjecting them to broken streets. I mean, you're just immoral. You're unethical. You're you're part of what God calls a filth of humanity. And that's hard to, somebody was telling me something about a politician, and I told them, I'm sorry, but it is not hard to be a good human being. We all know right from wrong. Every single last one of us knows right from wrong. And when we choose to do wrong, and it's not that we're doing wrong, is that we're victimizing people with the wrong behavior. It's the articles that I used to write, the video essays that I produce are a learning, tool. I learn something from the videos that I do. And what I learn is to be a calmer person, to not have animosity towards my neighbor. I know my neighbor's a threat to me, but as long as they keep a distance, I really don't have to worry about them. I should be focusing on myself. I should be focusing on my morality, my ethics. How do I conduct my business? How do I drive? Do I pay my bills on time? Am I a person of peace? Do I concentrate on being a good and decent person, a pleasant person, a respectful, polite person? It is hard. I'm not going to say it's easy. It is hard. But that is what we should be moving towards. That is what is necessary to have better societies. That is what is necessary for societies like the country of Mexico to start moving towards the road to recovery. But you're not going to convince the people of Mexico that they're immoral and that they're unethical and that the consequences that they are suffering in life are directly related to their bad behaviors. You're not going to convince gang members. This video will not convince one gang member that they are horrible savages and that they need to change because they're victimizing other people and they're harming people they have no right to harm. No matter what life does to you, and I have a degree in psychology, I understand how bad life can be. It's not an excuse, to do what you want and to harm who you want to harm. You should be ashamed of yourself. You should be disgusted. You should be embarrassed to be out in society and to be seen. You're not cool. You're not strong. If you resort to Satan's seductive whispers that tell you to harm another person, you're weak. You should stand up on your own 2 feet and earn a life with honest labor, not by stealing from other people. And there is a moral lesson for those who want to listen. And I could go on forever. And the reality is, if you have a bad family member, a bad employee, and you are brave enough to tell them, listen, your attitude, your ridicule, your insults, they're just bad. And ironically, in work environments, is the worst people are the ones that administration has the most patience for. And if a good person comes in late once, they attack them, they maul them like lions. No shameful embarrassment, no ability to repent, to understand that you're wrong, that you're not a good person, you're not a good human being, you're a horrible human. You're not even a human being. I don't even call you human beings anymore. I call you savages. There's no soul in you. There's no spirit in you. All there is animal desire. Animal desire to harm someone else. None of us are responsible for your bad life. I'm not responsible for your bad life. I wasn't there using you as a punching bag when you were a 4-year-old, or worse. But the answer to whatever happened to you in your life is not to victimize other people. Okay, I think I'm done on this. I'm just going to keep going in circles. Thank you for listening, and I wish you well.